Hello everyone, this is ICBs here and today we are going to be reacting to all of the Marvel shows ever made from worst to best, an article published on Rolling Stone made by Alan Spinwall. So thanks for making this list, Alan, and I'm just reacting to it, so let's get into this list. So right off the bat we have Inhumans, and I'm not gonna complain too much about this thing because I think this show was made by someone who at the time was a very toxic slash racist person at Marvel, which Kevin Feige fired. But yeah, this was a really bad show. Moving on, we have on number 19 Iron Fist, and this show I haven't watched it. I'm going to be honest, if there's a show that I haven't watched, I'm just going to be very honest because again, this is infamous for being one of the worst Netflix's show for Marvel, so I can't really complain. And maybe if I watched it I would have liked it, but again, I do remember it being famous for being one of the worst shows ever made. So yeah, on number 18 we have Secret Invasion, and I am kind of surprised and kind of happy at the same time to see this show being ranked this badly. This show being this low on the list. If it was me making this list, I would have ranked it much lower, like on straight up 20th. I don't care, but that's my opinion. I am very extremely biased against this show. I hate this show. Like, if this show was a person, I would have punched that person in the face. That's how much I hate this thing. I know it's criminal to ever punch a person, but that's what this show does to me. It brings out the worst in me. It is that bad. And on number 17 we have The Defenders, and I'm not really sure why this show is ranked this low. Like, it's been such a long time since I watched this show, but when it came out and I watched it, it was a really good show. I'm not really sure why it's ranked this low. I think it should be much higher. I think it's really good, and I think it had I think maybe 4 episodes or something. It was a really small show, but it was really good. Again, I'm not sure why this is ranked this low. And on number 16 we have Moon Knight. I haven't watched this show. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Some people have said that it's a really good show, and other people say that it's a really bad show. Again, I'm not sure how to rank this one, so I'm just going to leave this one. And on number 15 we have Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I think this rating is somewhat fair. I watched it. There was some action in there here and there in this show, but overall it was a really disappointing show. And over here on number 14 we have The Punisher, and this is really weird. Like, I don't get it why this show is rated so low. Like, this is one of the best shows that I watched. It was really good. Come on, man, this was a good show. Am I being crazy here? Did you guys watch this show? I think it was really good. And on number 13 we have Echo, and I haven't watched this thing mainly for the fact that a lot of people watched it and they unanimously said that it was a really bad show. But then again, Echo is ranked higher than The Punisher. I have no idea what the hell it's going on. Like, Punisher was a really good show. I don't think anyone ever said a bad thing about this show. And then you have Echo, which I think was a very controversial show, but even if you put aside the controversy, I think it's just a bad show. Again, I haven't watched it, but I've heard so many credible people say that it wasn't a good show, which made me not want to watch it. But yeah, like, I haven't watched it, so I can't judge it. But I guess I'll leave it up to you guys. And on number 12 we have Daredevil Born Again, and this is the latest at the time show that's been made by Marvel, and I'm watching it. I watched the first 2 episodes. I have some mixed feelings about it, but overall I think this is a step in the right direction for Marvel. But this is Marvel we're talking about, and Marvel has a really low bar when it comes to quality, so it's like baby steps. It's like I'm being really nice to Marvel, and Marvel doing something decent is like I'm just praising Marvel. Yeah, you did a good job, but this is like, compared to everything else, I do think that yeah, it makes sense. But then again, there's so many other episodes to come out, so I guess I'll judge this show based on that. So yeah. And on number 11 we have Agents of Shield, and this is ranked higher than so many of the other shows, so I guess it better be really good. I haven't watched it. I watched some snippets of this show when it was being aired on television, but yeah, again, I haven't really watched it. And on number 10 we have She-Hulk Attorney at Law, and this is ranked at number 10 after so many other shows that I think deserve to be ahead of She-Hulk. But at the same time, I do think that She-Hulk is one of the worst shows that Marvel has made, but it is definitely not the worst thing that Marvel has produced. And a lot of people might be really surprised to hear me say that, because a lot of people really hate this show, but I don't think that this is the worst thing that Marvel has made. I think She-Hulk is supposed to be a satire. I do think that it had a really, really bad ending. Overall, I think this show was kind of okay-ish. It was not good, but it did its job, I think. But yeah, I think Secret Invasion is by far the worst thing that Marvel has ever made. And if you compare these two shows, I think She-Hulk looks like a masterpiece compared to Secret Invasion. I hate that show that much. And on number 9 is Miss Marvel. I don't think that it's that much of a good show. I do think that it is ultimately a very forgettable show. I watched it was fine, it was in its own thing. Again, I just don't think that if it's that good, when you watch it you think it's all right, but I don't think that you should put it that high. I do think that it's a very forgettable show. And on 8 we have Luke Cage, and I did started watching it, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, but Netflix removed it while I was watching it, so I can't really rate it. But the however many episodes that I had watched, I do think that it was a really good show, so it being on number 8, I don't think I have a problem with that. And on number 7 we have Hawkeye, and I'm definitely surprised to see Hawkeye being this high. And I haven't watched this show, but then again I didn't think that it was a good show, but so I'm not sure, like if it's this high, like it has to be a good show, right? Have you guys watched it? What do you guys think about it? I have no idea why this show is this high. If it's this high, then I do think that I should watch it. The only reason why I didn't watch it was because I thought that it was a really bad show. And on number 6 we have Agatha All Along, and this is supposed to get towards better. If you guys kind of forgot what this list is supposed to be like, we are starting from the worst to the best. So whoever made this list thought that Agatha All Along was such a good show that they put it on number 6. This is I don't agree with this at all. I watched like first 2-3 episodes, and I couldn't continue with this show. Even though I was reviewing this show, I stopped making reviews for this show. Like I just couldn't torture myself to watch this thing. But yeah, like, did you guys think that it was such a good show that it should be ranked out of all the shows that Marvel has made on D plus? This is like the 6th best show. Do you guys think that it deserves this title? And on number 5 we have Loki, and I have no problem Loki being on number 5. I do think that Loki has started off with an original idea, but I do think that it was, you know, kind of scared to innovate towards the second season. It did do something different with the ending, but yeah, it was too little too late. I do think that the second season kind of dragged on a bit too much for my taste. But yeah, I do think that this is one of the better shows, but then again, I don't really like it. And on number 4 we have Jessica Jones, and I have no problem with this show being this high. I watched this thing and it is really really good. And if you guys haven't watched this show, this is low-key one of the best shows that Marvel has made, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on this show. And Kilgrave over here is one of the best villains that Marvel has made, so yeah, you guys should really watch this show if you guys haven't. And on number 3 we have Agent Carter, and this is another show that I haven't watched, so I can't really say anything about it, but yeah, I guess I will leave it up to you guys. And on number 2 we have Daredevil, and before I talk too much about this thing, we should also look at what is on number 1. And we have number 1, WandaVision, and this is really weird because I do think that Daredevil deserves to be one of the best Marvel shows to have ever been made, and I'm surprised to see WandaVision being on number 1 because I don't think that it's a good show. I think it had one of the most messiest endings of all time, and when I first started watching this show, I had no negative bias when I was watching it. So, and you have to realize that this show came after Endgame, so yeah, like when I sat down for this show, I was extremely pumped. I had nothing against this show, and it started off kind of alright. It had a lot of mystery going for it, but it had a really bad and a messy ending where Wanda was essentially the big villain of this show, but this show pretended that she was in fact a victim. I have no idea what to tell you, man. Like, she enslaved an entire town against their will and made them do their bidding. It, kept them and trapped those people in their minds, and this show pretended that Wanda was the victim in the end. It is asinine to say that this show is the best thing that Marvel has ever made. Like, I do think that Daredevil is the best thing that Marvel has ever made. So I really cannot agree with the number one list. Like, this was a big disappointment for me and a lot of other fans. So at the end of the day, while I do disagree with some parts of this list, I do think that most of the things on this list are kind of spot on, with Secret Invasion being one of the worst shows to have ever been made in Marvel. So this list does gets a lot of things better. So yeah, like, I do agree with some things where this list is, I think, kind of spot on for the most part. But let me know how you guys would rate these shows. But do you think is your like top 5 best shows that Marvel has ever made? But yeah, I think this video has gone on long enough. So with that said, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, it's time for a goodbye.